Well, pleasure to have you on this student interview slash employee interview because I know that me and you used to work together.
Yeah,
You're doing sales for the community, and then obviously you saw how good running an agency was and how everyone else was crushing it, how we were crushing it. So then you got into it, and then it's
exactly.
just kind of evolved from there. So why don't you introduce yourself, give a little bit of background on who you are, your background in terms of career experience, everything like that.
Totally, totally. So my name is Ramsha. I have probably lived three different lifetimes in this one already. My main experience is in sales. I've done over 50 million in sales previously, in tech sales, crypto sales. I worked with Domenic for a bit as well. That was super fun. We crushed it on that front. And then I also have experience in operations. So for a while, I was a consultant in operations. I was head of ops for a couple of different companies. So that's me in a nutshell.
Awesome.
Operations and sales are kind of my go-to. Thank you.
That's awesome. So how did you, I guess, get the inspiration to get into the agency space? Because I feel like for you, it's very unique in a sense because you were working
Yeah.
with us. Um, but what kind of sparked it? What made you want to transition from obviously solely into a sales role, and that's where majority of your
Yeah.
experience is, to then actually being an owner and running an agency?
Yeah, honestly, it was just through the community. Like I was already selling for you and I was seeing so much success like come out of it. Like
Mhm.
literally every day as part of my sales pitch, I would talk about all the success stories. And I kind of sold myself on it, which is funny. And obviously like working closely with you and seeing your success, it was just super inspiring. And I love the community as well. I just like I think I messaged you one day and I was like, Dom, I think I caught the agency bug. Should I like do this? And I was running things off of you and you were so supportive and you're like, absolutely, you should do it.
Yeah.
So I kind of just jumped in.
Yeah. No, and you had great success because obviously you come from a sales background, so you have
Yeah,
that confidence already built. Whereas for maybe someone who's just starting out, it takes a little bit more time to build that confidence, right? They've never reached out to
totally.
clients before. They've never done a sales call in their life before. They don't
Yeah.
understand sales journeys. So they're very much brand new. So for yourself, you know, how did you go about landing that first client of yours, which I know was a whale. So again, even more of a unique sort of situation.
Yeah. The first thing I did was I genuinely believe that everything in life like comes down to relationships, whether it's personal, business, anything. So the first thing I did was just reach out to my network. I
Yeah.
think I went on like four coffees in one week, and I was like, I'm just gonna tell people what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that it was just so organic, like everything has lined up for me always so well in life. I reached out to somebody, we went for a coffee, somebody in my network, and he was in real estate. I was in the agency space, but strictly for realtors and in real estate. And it was just like exactly what he needed at the time. And I was like, okay, perfect. Let's set up an in-person meeting. And
Mhm.
I landed my first client actually before I set up my entire agency.
I remember that. I remember because you're
Yeah.
messaging me. You're like, I need help. I need to set everything up.
Oh my God, you were so clutch. Like
It's hilarious.
literally, the weekly calls
Hmm.
were such a lifesaver
Hmm.
because I remember I had that coffee meeting on Monday, and I was meeting the client on Friday. So I had like 4 days to set everything up in the agency. So I
You're on
set
every
up
call.
everything. I was on every single call.
That's funny.
One day I dedicated to getting my sales pitch down. The next day was dedicated to, I set up a landing page. And then I remember the night before at like 10 p.m., and I'm sorry I did this to you. I was setting up my Stripe, in case they wanted to buy, like right then and there. And like some of the settings, I was like messaging you at 10 p.m. and you're like telling me what to do. And we set it
Yeah,
up, and you were my first call when I closed the client.
that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. It's funny because like even hearing that, it kind of always brings me back to like when I signed my first client because everyone thinks that you just need everything to be perfect, right? Like
Yeah.
there's kind of this thing where everyone thinks they're a perfectionist, but most people just they're actually procrastinating a lot of the time when
Yeah.
they feel like they're perfectionists, right? Like I think for the most part, I think why you were able to succeed so fast is you were just making it happen as it kind of came out, right?
Yeah.
Like you weren't really like, oh, I need to have, you know, all these things in place before I start. It's like, well, let's just focus on actually getting in a client and actually having a
Yeah.
business, right? Before we start, worrying about like all the internal operations and
Yeah.
SOPs and this and that, right? Where I think that actually overwhelms people a lot more because they
It
think they need to
does.
be like 100% ready before they actually go get a client. But you don't have a
A
business
thousand
unless you have a
percent.
client. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You're never gonna be ready. Ever.
No, no.
Yeah.
There's even times where like it's hilarious. Like right now, in our agency internally, like we're kind of changing up our onboarding funnel and
Yeah.
we're kind of at that point where we're still using the old one, but I'm kind of pissed we're using the old one because the new one is just so much better. And so
Yeah.
for me, it's like, sure, I'm a perfectionist in that sort of sense where I'm like, I just want to
Yeah.
get the work done so that we can launch this new, bigger, better thing and
Yeah.
system for our new clients, right? Like, but I'm not letting that hold us back from onboarding new clients and using the old one. I'm more so just like, shit, like we got to get this new one launched like ASAP,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, that's awesome. In terms of like your struggles, because again, very
Yeah.
unique situation. You launched your agency, got your client within your first month. They turned out to be a whale for you guys.
Yeah.
What now that you have, obviously got a lot of the foundational steps sort of set up with your agency, what have you been struggling with? What have you found that has been kind of a struggle for you in terms of building the agency, maybe getting clients? What's that look like?
My biggest struggle for the longest time, like before I actually joined
Mhm.
Pinnacle Mentors, was I thought I had to do everything myself, especially in terms of service delivery. Like I've done drop shipping and all that stuff. And so I've ran ads and it is the bane of my existence. Like I hate running ads. And it's so funny that I say that as an agency owner because it's a core part of my offering.
Yeah.
But I thought I had to do that myself.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what my biggest struggle was. I thought I had to do it all.
Yeah.
And I kind of just realized like, hey, you know what? Why don't you stick to what you're good at? And I was not afraid to hire. Like the second I had the cash flow coming into the business, it's the first thing that I did was hire that out. And it was the best decision ever.
Yeah.
Um, and now I'm even more confident in my services. So that was a huge, huge struggle for me. The other thing, just given my unique situation, was we started onboarding people, and then it was kind of like tons of referrals were coming in, and
Mm.
I mind you, I haven't even ran paid ads yet, and it was kind of like bogging down onboarding and the client experience in my eyes, like you and I are very similar in the sense that we're very much like everything has to be like tenfold better than the competitors. So, I mean, my process right now is probably better than 80% of people out there, but it's not what I want it to be. So I felt like we started growing really quickly, and I actually had to put a pause on client acquisition to catch up and build systems.
Mhm.
So that's what we've been doing now, just building out systems and making sure that we have the foundation
Yeah.
so I can start going on 60, 100 sales calls a month again.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
yeah, so that's
Yeah,
where
I
we're
think
at.
that's like that's a classic problem that every new agency owner has, which is, you kind of have to get to the point where you're bringing on so many clients that you have to almost stop client acquisition, which is definitely
Yeah,
not, and I think we all realize that it's like not the best thing. It's somewhat a good
yeah,
problem to have in the start because you know that you know what you need to work on, which is internal systems to bring on more clients.
yeah,
So I think that's going to be for you for sure, like figuring out how you can build systems that you can just continuously duplicate month after month so that
yeah,
if you are bringing in, 3 or 4 clients a month or, 10 clients a month, whatever that is for you guys, it's just easy. It's just clockwork, right? Like you can do it. There's not really like
exactly.
a capacity on it because I know that even happened with us as well too. Like we could only really get to onboarding 3 to 4 clients a month before our team was like, we physically can't onboard
Yeah,
anymore because there's just so much more to
so
do.
much to do. Yeah,
yeah, you're getting clients set up properly. You're making sure their back end set up. You're dealing with
Yeah.
creatives and copy and, working with them, jumping on Zoom calls. Like there's just not enough time in the day unless you're working,
Yeah.
like literally like 16-hour days. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, that it's definitely an internal system thing for sure. So I feel like, that'll be kind of like your next step, which is super exciting. But where
Yeah.
where are you currently at with your agency right now?
Yeah, the agency's been growing like crazy.
That's
It's been a
awesome.
heck of a ride. In terms of numbers, we've
Yeah,
definitely already hit six figures.
that's awesome.
And
In ARR, right? Like an annual
in
recurring.
ARR, yeah,
Okay.
definitely not MRR.
Yeah.
The
I was gonna
goal
say, I was like,
is,
what?
yeah, when did that happen? No, we've definitely hit it in ARR. With rev share, it's actually a lot higher. I'm not going to say that number,
Yeah, no,
but
for sure.
yeah, so it's going really well. We've introduced a new product as well. That's a little bit so before for context. I was focusing on really kind of high-end clients with big retainers. Like my minimums on that is 10K a month. And I basically replace your entire marketing and sales team.
Hmm.
But I'm super involved, right? And I can only have capped that to 5 a year.
Hmm.
And now we've introduced a more scalable product, which I'm super excited about. So the goal is to get 25 clients under that product offering. Um, yeah, that's where
Nice.
we're at.
Nice. That's awesome.
Thank
What
you.
would you say, your advice would be for like the newest person in the room, maybe starting an agency in terms of
Yep.
maybe their in terms of even their mindset? Because I feel like what holds a lot of people back is like just
Yeah.
the self-doubt, them feeling like they're not confident enough to charge what they should be charging, enough
Yes.
to actually be able to hire out team members to actually help them with service delivery. What would your
Yeah.
advice be to like the newest person in the room who's just starting out?
Yeah. I love that question. I think my biggest piece of advice is to fail fast.
Hmm.
Like your first business, your first sales call, anything you do for the first time is gonna suck.
Hmm.
But you're gonna learn a lot. So enjoy that process of failing
Hmm.
because every time you fail, you're one step closer to getting better and
Yeah.
and really like nailing in your sales process or your content strategy, whatever you're doing. Um, so I actually like never expect to do well or land a client in the first like 3 months of starting anything new. Like it's a
Hmm.
very much delayed gratification.
Hmm.
And everything I do for the first couple of months is how can I get more, honestly, failures under my belt?
Hmm.
Because if I go on enough sales calls, eventually I'm going to have it dialed in to where I have a script that works or
Yeah.
like a content strategy that works. Like, and what's crazy is you never know what's going to work and what's not going to work when you first start. So
Hmm.
you kind of also have to have some sort of like, kind of like learn how to surrender in a sense and kind of just go with it. For example, like when I was creating content, some of my best pieces of content, I was this close to not posting. I was like, this is so lame. Like
It's funny how that
this is,
works.
I don't think, yeah, I don't think this is the one that's gonna go viral.
Hmm.
And that's the one that goes viral.
Yeah,
Um,
it's funny how that works for sure.
yeah. So
That's
just lean
awesome.
into that, and fail fast because you never know what's gonna work.
Yeah, 100%. I guess it's interesting too because I think a lot of people they think of like the agency space as just like it's you have to build this big business around it, right? But
Yeah,
everyone's goals are a little bit different. Like I know when I
100%.
personally got started, I just wanted to do it so that I could not work the two jobs that I was working at that time, which was
Yeah,
at my dad's company 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and then bartending Friday evenings, Saturday evenings, right? Working like
yeah,
50 to 60 hours a week, sometimes more if I wanted to pick
yeah,
up a Sunday shift. And that was my initial goal. I was like, if I can just make like 5 to 6 grand a month with like building an agency online,
yeah,
like maybe they're right. Maybe you aren't working as many hours as you are at a job. Then, of course it's going to be worth it. So that was my initial goal. And then once I hit that relatively quick, it starts becoming interesting because then you're working,
yeah,
for me at the time, I was working two jobs. but then I was also in my evenings in my spare time building this. So now it's like you've doubled your income. You're sure you're working a little bit more,
Yeah,
but your expenses are fairly low because you've never made money like this. So you're almost like you
exactly.
don't really know what to do with it. And then
Yeah,
and then once you start leaving and leaving those previous jobs that you have, and you start opening up that time, then things really start to get interesting because then you have so much more
yeah,
time to focus on your agency. So yeah, I remember for me, I left my dad's company first, so I opened up 40 hours a week, and then I just spent all of that time just on client acquisition. And
amazing.
the reason I mention that is it kind of goes back to what you said. Like you have to fail quick because my
Yeah,
game plan at the start is like I didn't really have enough money and enough experience or understanding of how to run ads for myself, like how to do lead gen for myself.
yeah,
So I was just focusing on posting organically. I knew that I needed to build up like my online resume. I knew that
yeah,
I needed to get into the community to learn about like people's, problems and how I could solve them. So where I found a lot of success in was connecting with people in Facebook groups. So I was
oh
joining
my God, yes.
at the time, my agency, we were only focused on e-commerce at that time. And I started just joining every Facebook e-commerce group out there and started connecting with a lot of the people in there, which is what
Yeah,
actually led us to landing a few clients. Because I would just jump on calls with people, give them my opinion, my advice on their brands, on how they can improve their ads, simple stuff, things that I actually knew about.
yeah,
And then that led us to actually signing a few clients. And then one of the clients we signed was a part of this huge e-commerce group. It was private community and it was just full of e-commerce brand owners who were crushing it and they needed Facebook ads help. And then we basically jumped
yeah,
in and the owner of the group was like, yeah, like we saw what you guys did for, so and so's store. Can you help all of our clients? And we're like, 100% we can help all your clients. So
yeah,
then it was like, again, jumping back into just not, you're never going to be fully ready. I had to start
yeah.
hiring people left, right, and center because we needed more media buyers. And we basically scaled up to the point where we were doing above 30K a month within, it was like 3 or 4 months where it was like we went from doing
I
around 10K
love
a
it.
month to hitting like 30K a month in profit, just because we had access to this no whole
Wow.
network of people. So you just never really know, where you're
Yeah,
going to find like those massive wins. Um,
exactly.
but yeah, it just goes back to what you said. Like you're never gonna be ready, and you just kind of like find more blessings and
Yeah,
failures that you're kind of accumulating on, right?
exactly, exactly. And that's so funny that that's literally how we met. We met in that
Yeah,
group.
that's right. That's hilarious. I always forget
Yeah,
because you ran this like really cool like blue light blocker e-commerce store,
yeah,
which is hilarious. That is where we met. Yeah,
yeah.
that's super cool. Wow, we go way back.
We go way back. Yeah. And it's so cool, like, right? Like we both just kind of surrendered and leaned into
Yeah.
what kind of felt right at the time and what was the next logical decision. And I
Mhm.
think that's all you can really do as a business owner, right? It's just one step forward every day and
Yeah.
focus on the most important things. And then before you know it, you look backwards and you've come this crazy way.
Oh, 100%. 100%. What are your plans? What are your plans with your agency right now? Obviously you're a part of the community. You're very much involved in the
Yeah.
community in the sense of you're helping a lot of other people, you're inspiring a lot of people. What are your plans
Yeah.
for like, the next 3 months, let's say?
Well, I love that you asked the next 3 months because I think in quarters. So this is
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. Q1,
Um,
Q2, yeah, 100%. That's how my brain works as well too.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. Somebody asked me, "What are your plans for a year?" And I'm like, "You got to break it down into 3 months. I don't function like that." So yeah, plans for the next 3 months. So we're going to be finishing up our processes and onboarding systems by the end of this week.
Mhm.
And then after that, the entire quarter, I'm just focused on client acquisition.
Nice.
So our VSL is almost done. I recorded it this weekend.
Hey, awesome.
Yeah, it's looking good. I'm excited. And then we're running Google ads and Facebook ads. And I am not doing anything besides going on client calls and in-person meetings. That's it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's like the next phase of agency owner life where it's like you're not really doing anything internally in a sense besides checking with your
exactly.
team, making sure they have everything that they need to be
Exactly.
successful. And then you're just, you're handling sales, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Once you get good at that, then comes the fun part of potentially seeing if you can outsource sales, which it's a little bit of a more tricky thing to do,
Yeah.
especially in the agency space specifically, just because you need to have a salesperson that really understands the service and the product that you're actually selling, right?
Yeah.
Um, so it's a little bit different. So that's awesome. That's super exciting. Well, I know
Yeah.
you've been inspiring like crazy in the community. I know that obviously when you transitioned out of like our sales role and then actually went
Oh,
into
that was so
becoming an agency
sad.
owner, it was just hilarious because
Yeah.
everyone knew you from being on the calls of actually onboarding them into
Exactly.
the community, making sure that they are actually, getting results, being successful. And then they saw you basically start your own agency, and then within that month, you landed your first client, which was a
Yeah.
whale, which is
Huge.
awesome,
Yeah.
right? So that's super exciting.
Yeah, it was cool. It's been a heck of a ride. My goal for I guess the next 2 quarters is to land 25 clients with this new
Nice.
offering.
Cool.
We're going quite hard with the ads and whatnot, and
Mhm.
I'm feeling good about the systems that we have in place. So
Yeah.
very doable. The other client acquisition system that we're exploring that I think most people just totally overlook is throwing events. Um,
Huge. Yeah.
yeah.
In your niche,
So just
especially for sure.
exactly like
Yeah.
so just doing like lunch and learns and genuinely just teaching people, like you said, like all I really do is provide value.
Hmm.
And then it's usually them asking, oh, hey, like, can you work with me? And it's like, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah.
Um, I think that's actually another big thing that has contributed to, I think both mine and your success is we have very much like an abundance mindset. We don't ever hold back when it comes to information. It's
Hmm.
like I want you to be successful, with or without me. I don't care.
Yeah.
If you can even take what I've said and try to implement it yourself, and you do, I'm just as happy for you.
Yeah, yeah. 100%. 100%. I know we have like our free community, which is just like we have tons of SOPs, plug and plays, everything hosted in there.
Yeah,
Nice. I feel like it puts people a little bit more at ease, right? When they're jumping in,
totally.
just to be able to give that value, right? And for what you said about having those events, like those are great ways
Yeah,
to basically bring on new clients, but just to get yourself
yeah,
more in the actual community, right? Because you'll
exactly.
be surprised like how many people have heard of us from when we started or from years ago, like in 2020, and then they come back around, they send us an email, and they're like, hey, like we see you still around, and we see your ads still to this day, and we
Yeah.
know we're aware of you, and then they look to kind of work down the road, right? So it's really interesting how things start to pop up.
Yeah, yeah, you're always planting seeds.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Ramsha, it was awesome having you on here. I know it was a quick interview. I know that
Yeah,
you've
of
just been crushing
course.
it. Obviously, it's great to see that you've applied everything in the course content.
Yeah,
Looking to run ads right away, which is something that I think a lot of people online are steering agency owners away from for some reason. But I think the way that
yeah.
you're going about it is really smart. And I know that
Hmm.
that's how we scaled very fast. It's something that we always recommend inside the community, like have some sort of income coming in, maybe outside of the agency you're building.
Yeah,
And then just invest and learn how to run ads, right? And I mean,
yeah,
I guess the beauty of it is, and maybe I'll end off with this because now that you're going to start running ads, you've taken a look through like our paid ads funnel and all the course
yeah.
content and everything in there. Okay, great. So what did change your mind around your thought around running ads to now how you think around running ads and running your sales journey after watching all the content and everything that we provide?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like most people before I got into this, I was so like, you know what, let's start with mindset and then I'll get into it.
Sure.
I think in terms of mindset, like the reason I applied literally everything in the course, like I have not swayed away from it.
Mhm.
Even when my inner thoughts were like, is this actually the way to do it? I would
Mhm.
always come back and be like, no, you haven't done this
Mhm.
before. You haven't scaled an agency to 7 figures. Domenic has, and he's the guy to learn from. You're gonna sit down and you're gonna follow this. And so I think in terms of mindset, I'm a really good learner,
Mhm.
right? And I'm just a really good mentee in that sense. You can find the best mentor in the world, but if you're
Mhm.
not going to listen to them and actually apply what they say, you're not going to get far. So I think that's kind of number one is I genuinely like half of my success is I just listen very intently.
Hmm.
to what you're saying and I apply it. Even
Yeah.
if my team, who they have like 20 years of experience, even if they're saying, hey, I like this format better, I always come back
Hmm.
to your processes and I'm like, no, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
So being able to have that mindset is number one. Um, and then number two, in terms of the course content, I think when I first started, I was very much like, ads. I don't know what it is about ads, but everybody kind of just gets so spooked when they hear about ads. I
Yeah.
think it's just the kind of the user experience that Facebook has created. Like you'll
Yes.
post an ad and you get like banned for absolutely anything and everything.
Hmm.
So I was very much the same way, but I think after I went through the content, I simply just saw the numbers.
Hmm.
Like I think you were spending like $50 to acquire a client. And then you just look at the sheer, like the MRR value of it, and then the ARR value of that client. It's just a no-brainer. And so the more I started seeing that, and like, I think there's kind of this like unknown of like, you don't know how to properly run the ads. But once you go through the course content, you know exactly how to run the ads.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's out of the way. And then it's like, holy shit,
Hmm.
excuse my language. Why isn't everybody doing this? And then it kind of
Yeah.
shifted to like, oh, this is a money maker. Like I literally
Yeah.
have a money printer
I was just about to
at
say,
my
yeah.
disposal.
It
Yeah,
sounds it sounds so funny saying that because people just don't fathom it. Like, right? Like,
yeah,
I think people's self-doubt creeps in a lot when it comes
yeah,
to running ads. Because what happens is like you sign one or two clients as an agency owner, and then you're like, oh, this is great. I'm making an extra $2,000, $3,000 a month, whatever it is. And
yeah,
then you almost just want to, because you've never learned how to actually use money and that money's a tool, you just want to kind of
yeah.
hold on to it and just accumulate it,
Yes.
accumulate it, accumulate it, instead of being like, no, I can actually grow this by investing into the right things. And what I found is
Yeah.
the people that are confident in their service and in their ability to actually acquire leads, they're always running
Mm.
ads. They're always running ads, right? Like when I
Always.
kind of got rid of that mindset of, just hodling all of my money and just kind of watching my
Yeah.
bank account grow and started investing, I started signing more clients, making way more money. And it
Yeah.
forced us to actually level up as an agency because now we needed to build new internal systems to acquire more clients. And all of a sudden, all of those Twitter and YouTube gurus who were like, you only want to have 10 clients in a month, it's because their systems suck. They don't actually know what they're
Exactly.
talking about. Like they've never
Yeah.
actually been able to build any sort of system that brings in new clients, or it's just their service sucks so bad that they're just churning
Yeah.
like crazy, right? Whereas for
Exactly.
us, and what you're building right now, it's like we're literally working to the point where we can manage 100 clients under management every month. And when people hear
Wow.
that, they're like, no, there's no way. It's like, well, we have the systems
Yeah.
built in place, right? So it's
That's insane.
it's
Wow.
it's really,
Congrats.
yeah, appreciate it. No, it's interesting. It's definitely because it's changed
Yeah.
my whole perspective as well too as I built my
Yeah.
agency, which is nice because I can share all this new insight with the entire community, which is my favorite
I
part. It's
love
like
it.
not just building a community, we're actually building an agency that we can share everything that we're learning into, right? So no, it's been cool. We figured out the ads game and literally everything that we prove as an initial concept we're putting it we're putting it back into course content to share with the community, right? Like
I
we
love
were
it.
getting, gosh, and just this January, after this interview, I have a call. We're about to close our 15th client. It's an onboarding call. So
Love
15
it.
clients in 1 month, which is like
Holy shit.
crazy because we used to only be able to sign 2 to 3 clients a month. That was what our capacity was. And now it's like,
Wow.
5x that. But um, no, it'll be our 15th client. We were bringing on leads. So getting booked calls for $44 a month. We have the
Wow.
screenshots and everything posted inside of school. $44 per booked call. Around, I would say 70 to 80% of them are fully qualified to work with us. The rest of
Wow.
them are like newer businesses that are probably under 25 to 50K a month. So
Mhm.
the rest of them being above that. That's kind of our sweet spot to help brands scale.
Love it.
So when I'm putting that into context, I'm like, all right, so we only really need to sign one client. If we spent all of our ad
Mhm.
spend budget that we've allocated to Facebook and Instagram in 1 month and we only brought on one client, we would break
You're
even the
happy.
first month. And if we didn't run ads the second month in just MRR, we would continuously break even.
I
You know
love
what I
it.
mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, once we started to crunch those numbers, I was like, it's just like a no-brainer for people to be running ads if they're serious about growing their agency, right?
Totally. You know, one thing that I will say I really, really appreciated about this community
Mm,
that I haven't found in other communities is like I find that the main person that's running it, a lot of the times they'll like hold on to the
mm,
sauce, right? Like a lot of the important stuff they just won't share.
mm.
Whereas with you, you literally give everything and more. And so I so appreciate that about you and about this community is that there's no holding back. Even as you grow, we continuously get that experience. It's just being part of the community. And
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. And I appreciate that you think that way.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, no, it's
So,
it's definitely, one thing that I told my team when we built the community, I was like, I never want to run into the situation where like we stop running the agency because then, we're just gonna be hypocritical. We're just gonna be speaking in total
yeah,
theory, right? I'm like, as long as we have this community who are teaching people how to build agencies, become content creators online, build their online resume, we have to be
yeah,
doing it ourselves. So every day, like I'm waking up having Slack discussions with clients. I'm dealing with my media buyers inside my team. I'm
yeah,
building new internal systems. I'm running the ads for our agency. I'm creating content for brands, right? Like just the other week, my ugly mug was in Times Square again for the second year in a row with a money.com campaign. So it's like I'm literally
nice.
doing it and I'm sharing it
Yeah,
with everyone. And I told my team, I was like, if we start a community, we need to make sure that we are always practicing what we're preaching
yeah,
because then we're just gonna become like all these other people that are just shilling programs and just like you said, they're hiding all the secret stuff, the
yeah,
secret sauce in a sense, right? So yeah, we
yeah.
never want to run into that situation.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. If
Awesome.
you're not part of this community, like do yourself a favor and join. And no, I did not get paid to say this by any means. Like
I'll
you
clip
just
that.
honestly, you're such an authentic guy and the
Mhm.
community's great. If you want something that's going to accelerate your success, start here. That's literally what I did.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's awesome, Ramsha. Well, pleasure having you on. I know that we just rambled for another
Likewise.
10 minutes before we were gonna
I'm
cut
so
it off,
sorry.
but no, no, no. It was awesome. It was awesome having you on here. I know that you're crushing it. So maybe
Yeah.
we'll do an annual every January. Next January, we'll have
Let's do
another
it.
student
Yeah.
interview. You'll probably be beyond where I'm at too, which is hilarious. If you keep this up, if you keep signing whale clients left, right, and center.
Oh my God. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
That's
If
awesome.
I can handle it
Yeah.
and I have the capacity, totally. But I think at some point you have to know when to stop. And I think I have that number very clearly, and
Mhm.
I just can't wait to hit it.
That's awesome. Yeah, the agency space is it's a stepping stone, right? I've always said that is like you can scale it as far as you want, but it's ultimately such a
Yeah.
great stepping stone because the cash flow is so good and you can just do so much
Yes.
with that, right? So that's awesome. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you so much, Dom.
Yeah.
I appreciate your time.
Very, very welcome. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Take care.
Yeah, no worries. Crush it. Keep crushing it. Keep signing whale clients.
Will do. Okay. Bye-bye now.
Awesome.